What's up, Riders? This is Rex Wrath bringing you another gameplay commentary. Today I'm going to be playing a little Metroid Prime. Specifically, I'm playing the Wii version on the Metroid Prime Trilogy disc. I decided to go for a little Metroid Prime because, you know how when you get into a mood and you're just like, I really need to play this game right now. Well, I've been listening to a lot of Metroid Metal. It's a band that does Metroid music in a metal fashion. And I love metal music, so it makes sense. So I've been listening to that a lot in my car, and I'm like, I really need to play some Metroid. So I decided, you know what, if I've got a hankering for some Metroid, I'm going to pop in Metroid Prime and just have some fun. I really do love this game, too. It was one of the first Metroid games I played, and I think it's fantastic. They really did bring Metroid into the 3D realm very well. Retro Studios is an amazing game design company, I have to say. But as I said before, I am playing the Wii version of Metroid Prime, and the reason I'm playing the Wii version, other than the fact that I have a Wii U and I can't play GameCube games on it right now, I don't have my GameCube set up. Actually, it's lent to a friend. Anyway, the reason I'm playing the Wii version is I actually enjoy it more. The biggest reason being the control scheme. I personally enjoy the Wii controls better than the GameCube controls. I get more control, basically. I just like being able to point anywhere at the screen and being able to shoot, instead of having to stop and look around like you had to do in the original game. Or in the GameCube version, I mean. Now, before I ramble on about absolutely nothing in this, I wanted to get to the topic of the video, which is the issue of remakes and re-releases of video games, and what makes them so appealing or unappealing, and if you were to buy a remake, what are your reasons why? Now, for me, there needs to be a really big incentive for me to buy a re-release or a remake of a game. Typically, one of the biggest reasons why I buy a re-release is simply because I never had the game to begin with. And now that I'm older, I have the money to go out there and buy the games that I want when I want, which is something I simply couldn't do as a kid. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I buy re-releases. But now, how do I go about justifying games that I have purchased in the past? For me, one of the biggest reasons is just to get all my games on one console. Such as with the Wii's Virtual Console service, I've been able to buy a lot of my old games and a lot of the ones, as I said, that I didn't have before, and just get them all on one system, and I could just load them whenever I wanted to. And with the digital download service such as the Wii Virtual Console, the games aren't usually that expensive, so I can merit rebuying these games, especially because they come out in time, so I can space that out. It's not like I'm buying them all at once, so I don't have to worry about spending a whole lot of money just on rebuying games I already own. And this process of rebuying all of these games and putting them all into one system is so important with the way systems continuously get replaced with newer and newer consoles. So being able to have them all in one thing and being able to transfer them to the next one, that's a really big plus for me because, you know, I can't keep switching around wires and replugging in my old systems just to play games, especially with the old cartridge games, trying to get those things to work, and anyone who's had NES probably knows what I'm talking about. However, there are times where a re-release is just not worth it to me. One good example is the recent re-release of Super Mario All-Stars. Originally on Super Nintendo, they re-released it on disc for Wii. However, the only thing about this is they didn't do anything to the game itself. It's literally just the SNES game. That's it. That's all the disc contained. I mean, it could have been a download, but instead they just sold it as a $30 game with a little art book and a CD. Now, sure, that's cool, and you know, little history book, art book, whatever it was, I forget offhand, but it's cool to have that, and it's nice to have a CD soundtrack with all the classic Mario sounds and musics, but at the same time, for $30, that doesn't really seem worth it to me. Now, if we take this into contrast with the recent re-release of a bunch of the Kirby games on the Kirby Dream Collection for Wii, to me, that's a lot more worth it, because that one has about 5 or 6 games and a little museum that you can see a bunch of history. It's interesting because it's not just history on Kirby itself, but things that are happening in the world as well. There's also a few episodes of the Kirby television show, which I never watched because I thought it was kind of dumb, you know. Just from seeing previews of it, I'm like, I'm not watching this. Anyway, something like that. Now that's a lot better. And it also came with a little history book or something, I believe. Or is it just all on the disc? It doesn't really matter, because something like that makes a lot more sense, because instead of just porting a bunch of the games, you know, it gave you a bit more to work with, which hopefully is something they learned from the release of Super Mario All-Stars, because honestly, in a lot of ways, it was disappointing, even though people were clamoring for it, and it says a much higher value now as a used game than it did when it was, released, because it's like you can't find it anymore. But I'm like, come on, it's just Super Mario All-Stars on a disc. They could have just put that on the Virtual Console system. So that's my spiel with all that right now. So let me move on now to remakes themselves. Now, what is it in a remake that entices us to purchase said remake? For me, it has to be something substantial. As I was saying before with the Kirby Dream Collection, they added stuff to that. Even though the games themselves are still the same as always, they put more in there. They gave me something, they gave me more content than I would have had before, which is what I like to see in a remake. A good example of this is the recent remake of Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. Not only were the graphics given the overhaul that the game deserved, the remake took full advantage of the 3DS's capabilities. Capabilities that honestly just gave me more control in the game as the player. They also added in additional content, specifically the addition of boss replays and the addition of the Master Quest, which was previously only available on a special GameCube disc given out to players who pre-ordered the Wind Waker for GameCube. Not to mention that they bumped up the difficulty level in the Master Quest version for 3DS. Additions like this to an already amazing game from back in the day is what makes buying a remake worth it to me. Not simply a spit shine, because I've seen that where they spit shine a game, they polish it up so it made it look nice and pretty, but honestly that's all they did, and unless the price is good, there's no really reason for me to buy it. So, more or less, those are my reasons why I purchase remakes and re-releases, and also why I don't in certain circumstances. Anyway. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope everyone enjoyed. As always, if you liked the video, please hit the like button. Help me raise this riot. If you want to join the riot, hit subscribe to stay up to date on all my videos. Don't forget you can also like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. Also, don't forget to join my Steam group if you're on Steam. And as always, catch you all next time.